Hello again, my name's Diane and I design and make patchwork quilts, and I've made this one and called it Autumn Breeze, and if you'd like to see how I've made it, please continue watching. So the design is based on a simple medallion quilt. There's a central motif of a carpenter's star, and then it works out into simple pinwheels, variable stars and lightning strikes. So let's have a look at the design. It's based around the idea of a medallion quilt or a framed quilt, and it's 60 inches square. And if you'd like to see how I came up with this design process, there is a video that I've made and I'll put the links to that below. I shall also put a still image of this design on my community page and all the blocks that you'll need if you're interested. And I was inspired to buy fabric that has been designed by this person, William Morris. So a huge fan, and I have an ochre and a crimson in the larkspur design. So that's quite light and airy. And then I've chosen a richer hue in this strawberry thief. This is damson, this is ochre, and this one is a duck egg. And as you can see, it's very autumnal. That works well together. And then as a contrast, I have this lovely deep navy blue, so that will be the background. So I've bought a yard of all of these fabrics. There will be leftovers, and then there's 3 yards of this. So let's get cutting. Well, I've looked at the diagram and I've cut all the pieces. So it's all going to be 3-inch squares or 3-inch half square triangles. And so my preferred way of making half square triangles is to take a 4 3/4 inch square. So 2 squares, right sides together, 1/4 inch seam around the outside, snipped off the corners, pressed it to set the seam, and then cut on the diagonal. And then finger press them over to make 3-inch half square triangles. And there we are. That's how I'm going to be making my 3-inch half square triangles throughout this quilt. So step 1 is to make 17 of these. And my next job is to take one of those larkspur on point blocks and put the star points around the outside, and it's backed in the duck egg blue. And there we go, that's that piece completed. And now let's move on to the pieces that surround it. So my next step on this star is to bring out these 2 rows at the bottom, so it completes the on point duck egg square. So there's 2 rows on the bottom and there's 2 rows on the top. That's the bottom placement, that's the top. I'll sew those together now. All the colours are working really well together. I'm really pleased with that. Let's have a look at the sides. So I've coloured in one side just to get an idea of where to place the fabric, and that's the shape of it there. So I've placed the pieces next to that centre column, and you can see there are 3 blue squares on each corner. And what I'm looking to do is to make sure these colours are coming out in this rhomboid. Like this, across and across. And then we've got these peaks. So the diagram makes it much clearer, and I think you can tell from that. So I'm going to sew those together, and that'll be the central motif complete. And there we are, I've sewn that together. It's got a real old school vibe to it. Country houses and crackling fires and crispy leaves. Okay, so now let's have a look at the next step, which are pinwheels. So the central block is complete, and then we have a band of pinwheels, and they're just in a 2 colourway, and we need 20 of those. That's block B. And for the pinwheels, I'm using the navy blue background and this lovely soft duck egg. I'll put those together now. There we are, that's the pinwheel, and all the blocks are ready to go. So I'll put those together, 20 of those, and I'll see you in a little while. I've surrounded the central motif with the pinwheels on all sides. I like the way this sort of kick happens in the blue that goes around. And I think the duck egg does look a little subdued at the moment, but this is sort of the quiet passage in the quilt. What's coming next will be this variable star, and that will really pop. So that'll be very bright, and I think the soft blue will help that bright yellow to really come forward. So I'm going to start work on those next. So moving on to block D, and there are 12 of those, and you can see it's just a variable star, and the only difference is we've got some half square triangles up here in the duck egg, and the insert there is in duck egg, whereas it's in the navy blue elsewhere. Okay, so I'll make one of those up. We'll have a look at that. And that's the test block made. I'm very happy with that. I think that the navy and the yellow ochre really work well together. Complementary colours on the colour wheel, so why wouldn't they? Okay, let's have a little look at it next to the quilt. quilt. So these variable stars will lay next to these pinwheels of the next round on the quilt, and there's no problems there that I can see, so I'm going to make 12 of these. And there we are. Those are the 12 variable stars complete. I haven't joined them yet, but that's how they'll look on the quilt. There are 4 corners to do. They're slightly different from these variable stars, so I'll show you those in a moment. But before I do that, I'm going to just put the 2 rows that join onto these variable stars. They're all half square triangles and they're a little bit stretchy on the bias, so I'm going to add them and then I'll do the corners. So I'll show you what these edging pieces look like. So I'm just going to make up the zigzags, and that's a little 4 patch. That's block E, and there are 36 of those. I'm so sorry, I've just realised I've made an error with block E. I said you need 36, in fact you need 40. And there we are. And now I'm going to put 2 together like that and make 12 sets of those, and they'll fit on the edge of the variable star. And they'll look like that. So we've got a duck egg on point square in the centre. And that looks really lovely. Okay, 12 of those to put together. And now I'm going to take 3 of those sets and join them together to make a panel, and we need 4 of those panels. So I'll do that next. And those 4 panels will lay like that around the central motif. And I think it looks really lovely. I might have mentioned that before. I like this quilt. It's got a real autumnal feel. Autumn's my favourite season of the whole year. And now I need to just look at these 4 corners. So there'll be another variable star and the zigzag pattern continues around the edge. So nothing difficult there. Okay, let's get on with that. And so to make the corners we need 4 block C's. So you can see there's a variable star, and then we have the navy blue, and then we have the duck egg around these 2 sides. So I'll put 4 of those together next. And those are the 4 cornerstones. And now the next thing I'm going to do is make a little corner square to go here. And that is block F. And we need 4 of those. And those 4 corners look like that. So let's put them next to the quilt and we'll see how they fit. I am a little bit squished for space, but we'll manage. And so the corner piece of the variable star fits like that. So you've got the navy blue pointing inwards and the duck egg pointing out. And then that little cornerstone fits here on the bottom. And then we add 2 more pieces on each side to that variable star. This is the continuation of the zigzag, and it finishes that corner nicely. So I'll put a navy blue border so that jumps out, and that's all the pieces complete. Just need to construct it now. And that's the big reveal. I think that looks really lovely. So I have joined all the pieces together. I've added the border as I've gone along. So now I have a central piece with a top panel and a bottom panel, which I'm going to attach. The side panels are all complete. So then I'll just put those one on each end. And that's it. So I'm going to quilt it in a deep grey. I have 100% cotton batting for the middle, and I have navy blue solid for the back. Well, it's a good thing I played this video back before I started to join these together and quilt. Can you see this bottom right hand corner on that variable star? I've sewn it in upside down. I don't know whether to be relieved that I've spotted it at this point or annoyed and I've done it in the first place. Can you see how it should look? Oh my goodness. Okay, let's do that before we start the quilting. So the way I'm going to tackle this is to unpick along here, just past that seam, a little bit there, and along here, and down there, and then flip it around. So I've unpicked that, and now I'm going to replace the square in the correct position. So now I'm going to sew that seam across the top there, and then I'll join down each side. So I've put that right, and no one will ever be any the wiser apart from you, my friends. It was a narrow escape. That looks much better, doesn't it? Okay, I'm going to have a little bit of comfort food. Nice cup of coffee and a piece of chocolate cake. Well, the weather for the whole of July, where I live in central England, has been cool and wet and windy. However, the weather forecast is set fair for next week. And then I expect it will be too hot to quilt. So I better crack on now and get this one finished. So I quilted it with a grey thread, and I think that's worked because it disappears into these colours and it's not too obtrusive on the navy blue. I'm happy with the way that's worked out. It's a simple cross hatch quilting and I like the way the patterns are on the back. I've managed to beat the hot weather, although now the weather forecast says we're only going to have 2 nice days next week, but it's finished anyway and I think it looks beautiful. So if you've enjoyed watching this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to, and if you do, you'll get notifications of the next thing I make, and also all the details that you need to make this quilt are on my community page. It's all free of charge. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for sharing your time with me. Take care everyone. Bye.